I don't like performing, or I am not made for performances. Look, you are probably a hobby player and you say, I never want to be on stage. I don't want to perform in front of an audience. I don't want to actually expose myself at the piano. That's often wrong. It's actually a good thing that you say you do it for yourself and that you want to just enjoy it. But, let's be honest, music is there that we share it with each other. And also it's very important that you perform on a regular basis if you want to really make long-lasting progress, right? You can't just play for yourself all the time, assuming that you will become better. You have no accountability. You have no control over what has worked for you in your practice. You have no control over, what actually you should do in your practice in order to continue with that. And it's really important that you perform for other people, be it your friends, family, or just, like-minded people. People who are also learning the piano on a professional basis, on a hobby player basis. It doesn't really matter, but the most important thing is that you do play in front of others. If you don't do that, you will become stuck in your playing. You can actually practice many hours a week. You can practice 10, 20, 30 hours a week. If you don't play for others regularly, you will keep lying to yourself. And I do that myself. We play some passages which are working well. We play some passages where we think, this is gonna work out super good. And then we play it for someone and it doesn't work at all. Or we're frustrated with a certain page, with a passage in a piece, which is super difficult, and we think it will never work out. If we just try that for someone, at some point we'd see, okay, actually it's not that difficult. And this is what I see so often. And that is what we do with our mentees, that we also play for each other on a regular basis, which is really important on every level, starting from a beginner level to a professional level, in order to make progress. Most people in music schools, they have the problem, they maybe have to perform like 2 times a year, 1 time a year, and then they're so nervous and they don't know how to deal with that they will actually fail in that community. Or they will actually go to conservatory, but also there is no real emphasis on performing regularly every week, every second week, every other week. And how should you become a professional if you never perform? How is that possible? It is not possible. So what we did also when I was younger, we performed in front of others so many times, and that was actually really the best thing that could happen to me. We were in these master classes with my professor back then, where we actually had to perform every single night. These sessions were like sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours long, and it's what actually made me a really good pianist. Look, you don't need to play, of course, every night. It is not necessary if you just want to play as a hobby player. But you need to expose yourself every now and then, and I know it's something that you're afraid of. It's something that we're all afraid of because we are animals and we want to be approved of others, but you have to challenge yourself to do that, really. And the most important thing is that you find people who support you on that, because if you play for the wrong people, they will just laugh at you, or they will just not take it seriously, they will not know what you're doing. And that is, of course, a bit frustrating. I get that. So you need a group of people who can actually, understand what you're doing. They don't need to understand every single detail. They don't need to know every single piece. They just need to understand what you're doing there, because that is super important for you. And let me tell you, even hobby players who do that regularly, they actually make a lot of progress there. A lot of progress. You cannot imagine how fast you can make progress if you play every second week or so. And what you should do as well is, of course, you have to also note what has worked for you, what has not worked for you, and therefore adjust your practice. And that's the key element, that is also part of our academy, is that we also play for each other on a regular basis, which is really, really, really great. And I see that now. I didn't actually know it was so important also for hobby players. But, music has always been a shared experience. If you go back to, prehistoric times, people were sitting around the fire, playing the drums, maybe singing. They were later adding in instruments. Of course, later in Renaissance, with singing in church together. And it was always a shared experience. Music is not meant to be just for yourself. It's meant to be to share it with others. And you can tell yourself, I'm not made for that, but let me tell you, you are. If you're a human being and you're not totally ill and you make music, you're able to do that. And you should. Because it is something that most in our society have unlearned, and it's a cultural centerpiece actually. It's really important to our identity that we make music together in groups, that we actually share it together. And that's what I highlight also in the Pilsen Academy. And of course, we focus mostly on piano. Maybe you watch this video and you are a singer or a violinist or whatever. It's great. Keep doing what you're doing. And if you're a pianist, you should obviously join our group. You should join our community so you can also have these experiences and learn with others, like-minded people. That's how it works. So if you want to learn how you can also participate in that, or also just how you can find people in your surroundings who actually support you on that path, then apply for a free strategy lesson at aaronpilsen.com/academy. We will work out a plan together on, first of all, how you improve technically, how you improve strategically, but also how you can find people and how you can play for them on a regular basis. And most importantly, how you can learn from that experience so that it does not, sound the same every week, but that you actually make real progress. And this is going to be so fulfilling for you that you probably want to jump on one of our courses, because most people who do these strategy lessons, they buy one of our courses. But also if you decide not to, it will definitely move you forward a lot. I can guarantee that. And I'm looking forward to meeting you very soon in person, and that we can, of course, first of all, also make music together, you and I, and then we can see how we can integrate that into your daily life. If you want, of course, to really make progress, you need at least 3, 5, 10 hours a week. I often vary these numbers because it just means you need some commitment on every level. If you're starting out, maybe you need 3 hours a week. If you are a little bit more advanced, you need maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. And very soon, as early as possible, you need to also add in these group experiences. Apply for that lesson now. Be quick, because I can tell you over Christmas, New Year, there are so many applications. I've had that last year, so I know already that it's going to be super crowded. And I cannot take on, endless people, because we want to keep the quality high in all our programs. The beginners program, also the masterclass program, we have different options there. Of course, they're differently structured, but we still want to keep the level very high. So be quick now to apply for this lesson, and then we work out a plan for Christmas, for the new year, and also for the future that you can develop on the piano in the long term. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we see each other again in the next video. Also share it with your friends, please. Thank you.